We got 3 flags ready to go.
Oh, it's live. Hey.
Live. So this is interesting technology.
You may proceed now.
Okay, so Kelly, are you going to just go over real quickly, since we didn't have a chance to have a caucus before we start the special meeting?
Right. Yeah. Since we didn't, the legislation went out to members in advance to have a look at it, but we're not having our typical caucus because this is an emergency meeting. The items on the agenda are legislation to allow the city to accept electronic bids, which I'm surprised we're not already doing, and legislation modifying the procurement policy in this time of crisis due to COVID-19. So, brief discussion. Members have any questions, comments?
I just have one question. Corey's memo sent out a few days ago said that we're changing the procurement requirement cap from 10,000 to 20,000, but I didn't see that anywhere within the legislation. Is that contained in one of the sections of the code already cited in there, or I assume we're not making it unlimited as to the amount of purchases that can be made under the emergency circumstances.
Right. So, JR, you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you make those changes to the legislation?
Yeah, no, per the section of the code, it only allows for certain procurement above a certain amount. It's all it is. It's just above a certain amount. And Brett's here also to talk on, because me and him both worked on this with Marisa on this.
Okay. So is it being limited even in the emergency circumstances to $20,000 without going through a hearing in front of the E&A board, or isn't there a cap on the amount?
That was my understanding of how this was supposed to be drafted.
I think that your ordinance 7.3320 is an omnibus ordinance, which basically waives all of that, which without having to amend the code. So it waives those provisions for the period of the emergency, and that in effect waives any limitations without the need to amend the actual city code to make a permanent adjustment. So I think what you want is accomplished in 7.3320.
So does it have a cap of $20,000 or not?
I believe the way I read the ordinance, that one, it waives, it suspends it in the event of an emergency.
Yeah.
So there is no cap at all.
As I said, no cap.
Correct. Only for those circumstances which relate to whatever it was, COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
So they could not take an unpublished bid for paving a street, but they could for masks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The ordinance says that they can take immediate action without undertaking the formal bidding process as is necessary to rectify the emergency. You know, making purchases for things that are necessary to rectify the emergency.
Okay.
Like PPE for staffers, for example. Right. Yep. So does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that 7.33.20 could be a little clearer in section 2 to make it clear that it is limited to purchases related to the emergency. It actually doesn't say that, I don't think.
The portion of the code mentions that it has to be pursuant to the emergency. So it's in section 1, it clears it out, and it's pursuant to any emergency declaration. So it does cover it in terms of the code where it goes in. So they can't go beyond anything besides what's been declared for COVID-19.
Where is the language that limits the authorization to this particular emergency, for items necessary for this particular emergency.
And 7. Termination the common council. Declared.
Well, section 1 refers to the emergency related to COVID-19. And then section 2 talks about purchasing materials as necessary to rectify
The emergency.
which would reference back to section 1.
Yeah, and this is pursuant to section 42-163, where it limits, it says that it is determined that a public emergency exists, in which case said ordinance shall state circumstances, conditions that created the public emergency, which this is where it's going in, and which shall be limited to the arising of that incident. So that's where it's limiting it to.
And section 4 of the ordinance does state that it shall expire when the emergency declaration expires or is rescinded.
Or up until August 31st of this year,
Hopefully before then.
whichever is earlier.
Yeah, we should only hope.
That's true.
I do want to note that there's an R in the ordinance number.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yep.
should be taken out.
Yep.
With regard to the resolution, the 1, 2, 3, 4th whereas, the last whereas references the option for submission of bids offered and offers electronically shall be enshrined in 42-152 of the code upon passage of ordinance 6.41.
Guys, stop, sweetie. Stop.
Yes.
You just need to make that 41 to 33.
Oh, correct. Yep. Sorry with the numbering on the emergency meeting, threw the numbering off a little bit.
Oh, on the one that we sent all the members, it's there. I have it in my email that I pulled it up.
You have that change in
Yes.
the resolution. All right.
Yes.
I didn't see, I printed out the most recent version in all my emails. So I guess it was something Michelle sent. So that's what I'm working off of. But good that that's taken care
So we're okay with the first one?
of. I thought
I'm
we were-
okay with all three.
I
Yeah, I
am too.
thought we were
Yeah,
covering all-
so
Could somebody tell me, is there, right now, I can only bring up the gallery with 9 people in it, and people are talking. I'm wondering, is it possible to bring up the gallery with everybody in it?
If you set your computer as full screen, the app as full screen.
Yes.
I'm not touching.
I'm not touching that. I don't do that.
Or you might have something that says switch to gallery view.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I switched to gallery view, but I only get the 9 people. Yesterday, I didn't even know that you could do that. Until I saw it on Ginny's Facebook. I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So I'm working off of my iPad.
I'm working off my iPad too.
I get 8.
Yeah, I have the iPad, but I don't dare try to switch it. I just got it loaded in.
Like, because of the number of participants, even in gallery view, we can't see everybody.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So other
'Cause it's
people.
20.
there we go.
No.
So are we done with caucus, or are we done with the mini caucus?
Yeah.
You need a sponsor. You need a sponsor
One more thing.
Yeah.
We're going to need to do unanimous consent also.
Because of the number of participants, even in gallery view, we can't see
Why is this-
everybody.
Can we mute everyone, please? And if you want to talk, can we rate? You guys know how to raise your hand so that we can unmute you?
You can
Okay.
go, Corey. I muted everyone.
Conti had a question.
Okay, I'm muted.
Yeah, just a reminder, when we convene the meeting, we need to do a unanimous consent to pass the ordinance the same night as introduction.
Yes, okay. So are we done with caucus, Mr. Kimbrough?
Give me a second. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yes, yes. We can move on to
Okay.
the meeting.
So that's what we'll do. Okay. We hereby recognize on March 26, 2021. This is a special meeting of the Common Council. So can the clerk please call the roll?
I had to wait to be unmuted. Anani.
Present.
Valorant. Conti.
Present.
Valorant's present. Count members, please don't unmute. I will unmute you all so that way we can keep order.
All controlling.
Fahey.
Here.
Farrell.
Here.
Flynn.
Here.
Frederick.
Here.
Poe.
Here.
Igo.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Kimbrough.
Here.
Love.
Here.
O'Brien. Here.
Robinson. I see Robinson. I know he's in.
Here.
15 present, no members absent.
Thank you.
Wow.
And on our regular agenda, we normally at this time have a pledge of allegiance. Can we have a motion on the floor to suspend that just for this special meeting?
So moved.
All those, second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, just for the special meeting, pledge of allegiance is removed. And now we'll move on to the special meeting will take into consideration two ordinances, one resolution, ordinance 6.3320, ordinance 7.3320, and resolution 330.3320R. Mr. Kimbrough, their motion on ordinances.
Yes, I'd like, do I group them together? I'd like to make a motion that we add and pass by majority consent the aforementioned legislation.
Unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent. What did I say? Unanimous consent,
Majority.
excuse me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. So now moving on to ordinance number 6.3320. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending subsection 152 of the Code of the City of Albany, 152 of Chapter 42 of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to authorizing submissions of bids and offers in an electronic format.
Is there any discussion on the ordinance? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Anani.
Yes.
Valorant.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Doshette.
Yes.
Fahey.
Yes.
Farrell.
Yes.
Flynn.
Yes.
Frederick.
Yes.
Poe. Igo.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes.
Love.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Is Hoey back with us?
Here all along, you never called my name.
Hoey.
Here, I mean, yes.
15 is affirmative.
Thank you. Ordinance passes. Now, can we move ordinance number 7.33.20? Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance authorizing the Board of Contract and Supply to take immediate action pursuant to section 42-163 of the Code of the City of Albany for purchases related to the state of emergency declared by the mayor on March 15, 2020 in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Is there any discussion on the ordinance? Mr. Ballard?
Just want to commend our leadership and administration for pushing this forward and pushing this emergency meeting forward to get this pushed through. I think this is something that is important, that we, lift any gaps to make sure that we can get any type of emergency or protective equipment to our first responders is critical. So I commend the leadership for that. I commend the administration for that, and I commend all of you for being here in these difficult times to make this happen for our city and our first responders. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember O'Brien has his hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can't see
not only the leadership, but I think particularly our staff should be commended for all their diligence and electronic know-how in terms of getting this thing launched.
And just real quick, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, just have to add that the sponsor of the legislation is Ms. Farrell, or the Finance Committee. Ms. Farrell will be the sponsor for.
And I'd like to say, I think we should all be co-sponsors to show support.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Any further discussion?
Yes, please.
Seeing none, can the clerk call the roll?
Anani,
Yes.
Halloran,
He's muted.
Hold on.
Yes, thank you.
Conti,
Yes.
Doshette,
Yes.
Fahey,
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Farrell,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Bowie,
Yes.
Igo,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kimbrough,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
15 in the affirmative.
Ordinance passes. Moving on to resolution 30.33.20R. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Common Council authorizing submission in an electronic format of bids and offers responsive to certain public contracts.
There's a discussion on the resolution. Seeing none, can the clerk call the roll?
Anani,
Yes.
Halloran,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Doshette,
Yes.
Fahey,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Bowie,
Yes.
Igo,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kimbrough,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
15 in the affirmative.
Resolution passes. So that is it for our agenda items. As of today, just for me, to all of you and your families, be safe,
Yes, please.
stay well, and continue to communicate what's going on, and be the resources that I know you are already to to the citizens of Albany. And let's just pray that we all in this state, in this country, all on the right track and continue to be safe with one another. So Mr. Kimbrough, is there a motion?
Yes, motion to it.
Hold
Ms.
on.
Love, looks like she might have a
Be
comment.
recognized.
Go ahead. Please do.
I wanted to thank our staff because they have been doing so much work behind the scenes to make this happen. So thank you, Danielle, JR, Michelle, and Brett too, for all your work. This is not easy to put this all together, but it's so important, and thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
And then Miss Love wants to be recognized.
Ms. Love?
Miss Love.
Before we leave, can we ask Robinson to lead us in prayer before we dismiss?
Well, we don't do prayer. We do a moment of silence.
Well, can we do a
I
moment of
think
silence?
we can definitely do that. Absolutely. That is appropriate. for us to do. So before, I guess we have a motion on the floor to dismiss. I think that's, did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so now, Mr. Robinson, if you want to start off the moment of silence, and then after that, we will have adjourned. Mr. Robinson. Did you want to say a few words, Mr. Robinson?
He's still mute.
Okay.
As we reflect on the current crisis that our country is in, let us all keep our frontline staff, our ambulance, our nurses, our doctors. Let us keep our volunteers, our nation's leaders, our state, local, electeds. Let us all keep them in prayer, and let's keep in prayer all the families who have lost loved ones to this crisis. So let us adjourn in a moment of silence.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for everybody
care.
for tuning in too.
Yes, thanks for letting us see the babies.
I know, you should have picked them up, Jamel.
All
Yeah,
right.
see, that's what I didn't get to see because I don't have the whole screen. I don't have everybody up there.
It was just a cute little bow that.
I'm sure. All right.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Oops.